viewers, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa from DeeZinesByD, and today I have some Scrappy Tails Crafts to share with you. So the recent release released this Slimline pop-up flower shop, and I'm so excited to be able to share my inspiration with you. So I've got a ton of products from the release to show you here. They're all linked in my blog, which is linked below, along with being on the Scrappy Tails website that you can check out anytime. So here we have the Slimline Flower pop-up card dies. So those are important to create the backbone of your pop-up stand. Then you've got the A7 Storefront Flower Shop add-on. So that's if you want to add on the flower shop. You've also got the garden stand flower dies along with the flower shop stamp set. All of these can be used together to go ahead and make up your Slimline pop-up. You've got the storefront sentiment stamp set. This can also be used with the coffee shop add-on. So you can actually buy that coffee shop add-on and use it with the Slimline pop-up stand if you wanted to. So first of all, these dies, they do come connected, so you're going to need something to cut them apart. Most of them you can kind of twist them apart. You don't even need the cutters. But since these are a bit longer, you kind of need the cutters to kind of get in there and get them all apart. Once you've got that all done, this is the main base for the storefront. So you're going to need one or two if you want to do a little bit of a design like what I'm going to do here. I'll show you that in a second. Then you've also got two other bases, or at least fronts, that you're going to need. I've kind of just cut those out and added some Minty Mint Ultra New ink to that, along with another strip that I've cut here. That's going to basically go in the background. You don't need this if you want to use the same color that you have on your base piece there, but I did want it to match the other two pieces, so I cut one myself. Now you also have this long die. There's two more, which is the medium and the small. This is what creates what I like to call your columns. For the longer piece, you're going to need two. The medium, you're going to need another two. And then for the smaller piece, you're actually going to need four of those cut out. So once you've got all of those cut out, I first of all want to show you how to put this all together, because I'm always interested in how the structural piece works. And then I want to get to all the details and the funky designs. So first of all, you've got all these column pieces and you want to fold them on the little embossed lines that are included there. You're going to end up with 5 sections that are one section is gonna fold over the other and it's gonna attach. I like to use double-sided adhesive. I fold it like this and then fold the top piece over, and so you get like a column that has 4 sides. So a square column. I'm gonna do that again on the second one in case you didn't catch it the first time. So I'm gonna fold all of those lines. And if you have issue folding, you can always fold one way then the other to make that fold really well. Then I will fold it over with 2 sections showing and then fold over the top part. And this I found was the easiest way to put all of these columns together. So I've done that for the 4 smallest, the 2 medium, and the 2 largest. And once those are done, you can kind of assemble your base piece here. So I'm folding that little roof here. And I have this little gold piece that I've cut out of some gold mirror cardstock. And what I want to do is create a bit of an alternating design. So I'm just taking my scissors and I'm cutting straight lines in between each of those little scallops all the way up to that fold line. Then I'm taking each alternating piece and I'm cutting it off. And once I cut all of those pieces off nicely, I did take a little bit of extra time to use a smaller pair of scissors to make sure that those were cut nicely. And then I add this gold piece underneath, so it makes this cute little roof for you. And I love adding gold accents to my cards. I don't know about you. So this was just like that little kind of icing on the cake. And I find that all these little details are what really makes your cards pop and stand out. I mean, this card pops enough since it is a pop-up, but I just couldn't help myself. So I went ahead and I added glue to all of those little pieces, and now I'm folding them down on that gold piece. And you can see they all line up nicely. And then I just have to fold over the other little edge there. And that part of the card base is done. Now we're going to put together that little pop-up piece, or the actual functioning pop-up part of the card. So I just add some adhesive with my Tombow dot runner on the back on one edge of that 4-sided column, and then I attach it very neatly to the edge of that base. Then I'm going to add that little piece that I have in the center. As I said, you don't have to do this. I mean, I could have kept it blue like the rest of the background, but I wanted it to match the other little pieces that I'm going to add. Then I take the two medium columns, and again, adding glue to just one of the four sides, I line it up, lining all of these columns up with the bottom edge and the left and the right sides so that they're basically, one column that just kind of graduates or degraduates inside, if that's even a word. Anyways, now for my panel, I want to really note here that I only added glue to the left and the right edges, because if I add it in the center, when I fold this flat, it's going to end up sticking, and you don't want that. Now for the front, you have these two smaller columns on either side that you're going to add, and this is why you need four, because this is what helps this card kind of fold flat. You don't have to add them if you don't want as much dimension, but I find that they really help the card fold flat. And then I added the piece on the front. So you can see that you end up with four columns or four pieces on the side there, and then you can see it folds flat pretty nicely. So once that's done, I went ahead and made another roof, just like the top there. So I just cut out another piece from the gold and the blue, and I did the same thing to alternate the colors at the top. And now I've got just a little piece sticking out at the bottom there that I'm going to add to the second, graduation in height on this pop-up. Just to create just a little bit more of a storefront. I just really liked that roof and just thought I wanted to add more of it. Now what I'm showing you here is that I like to go online and find a color scheme that I like, and then I kind of find inks that match. I have Altenew inks here, and these are all the colors that I'm going to be using for all of my delicate little die cut pieces, and I just like using the color schemes because it just helps everything match and come together in the end. So that's my little trick for that. In terms of the dies I'm showing you here, you don't have to detach all of the dies. So there's certain bits that I've kind of kept in groups, because when I do go to cut them out, they're most likely going to be cut out of probably the same colors. And it just is less work to kind of line them all up and get them all through your die cutting machine. Now, furthermore, there are little shutters that come with the Slimline, the base set. And what you want to do is cut out the two windows, and I did that. I cut it out of the mirror cardstock, and I found that the little rectangles from the center, so the negative piece from those die cuts, actually worked to add a bit of an accent to the two columns that were showing on my card. So I just took all of those little rectangles and I added them there just to create just a bit more fun on the front of the card. Now for all of these die cut pieces, as you can see, I cut them all out of white cardstock, and I kept the negative piece. And what I like to do is I like to add some washi on the back to make it sticky. And then I kind of inlay all of those little pieces. Now this takes a bit of time, so I'm not going to show you all of that. I'll cut it short so you can get the idea, but I basically inlaid all of those white pieces. And then what I like to do is add my ink colors. So most people will kind of pick the cardstock colors that they want and cut all of those out and then assemble. That's totally fine if you like to do that. But I decided that I wanted to add ink because I'm just in a bit of a ink blending mood today. So I went ahead and I added the colors that I wanted here. And this also comes in handy if you're somebody who doesn't have a lot of different cardstock colors on hand. I don't have that many, and I don't feel that I have the colors that I want. So I like doing this a lot of the time because I have a lot of inks. So this just also helps you create variation in your die cuts as well. So I chose a lot of solid colors, but if you wanted to have a bit more dimension, what you could have done is use a lighter green and a darker green and kind of just layered those colors in different areas, and that would have made your die cuts look a little different as well. But this is what I went ahead and went with. I took out all of those green pieces that I didn't have to add other colors to, and I left the pieces where I'm going to have to add some pinks and purples. And here I'm just adding it with these small blending brushes. And I love these small blending brushes because they help you get little details in your ink blending like I'm doing here. And it doesn't take too long to do. I find that this is actually fun. I love mixing colors and playing with colors, so this is just a fun technique for me. Now, once I'm done, I go ahead and I pull those out. Like they look like a mess while they're on there, but once you pull them out of the inlay, they look really nice once all the ink is added and they're no longer white. Now, some of these little pieces you do kind of have to assemble. Here's a little bush that comes with the Flower Shop add-on set, and it has the bush and these little flowers that are cut out, and you can see on the bush there's like embossed edges, and that's where you would add these little flowers, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. And I'm just using a little bit of liquid Barely Arts glue here to attach these. And there's my little flower bunch. Now I also have the garden flower set, and I'm just going to use some of these smaller flowers from there along with those bigger flowers in the little bush. Now I've cut all of those out and added ink to those, and now I'll just assemble those bushes. Now what I like about these bushes is they're a fair size, they're not too small, and there's a ton of different flowers in these sets. I have to say you get your value out of these because you can add all of the little flowers if you wanted. You could add some big and some small. And I find that having this variation in size of all the little flowers helps you create unique projects. This I really like. So here I'm adding some of the flowers in blue. I'm adding some of the smaller flowers in purple and pink. And that's just going to make my bush look a little different than the bush you may create. So those are my little bushes. I'll go ahead and put together my shutters here. So I actually used some acetate to make these kind of look like a real window with like glass in them in the panes. So what I did was I added some glue on the window and then I attach it to the acetate, and then I cut it off with some sharp scissors and I get my little shutters. Now there's a bit of a fold on the side there, and that's going to help you attach them, which I'll show you later. Now here's another little trick that I like to do. So there's a lot of die cut elements in these sets, and I like to switch it up a bit just to add a bit more detail and to kind of differentiate certain things from other things. So like the flowers, they're stained, they're colored different colors, and now all of these other little bits like the stool, the little baskets, the vases, those I'm keeping them white. But to help them stand out a little more, what I like to do is cut them twice, once out of white and once out of that gold mirror cardstock. And when I add the gold mirror cardstock as like a little bit of a shadow behind the white, it just really makes the white stand out. And I find it gives it like a nice kind of classic look, which I find works really nicely when you're wanting your colors to pop on your card as well. So here are all of my little pieces. I've got them all nice and assembled and colored and put together. Now I will attach my shutters. So I'm adding some 1/8 of an inch score pile tape here. This is really strong adhesive. Because I'm attaching it to a mirror cardstock, I do want something strong because it would easily come off. So I folded the edge down and attached both shutters to the sides. I'm sorry, my head's getting in the way here, and it probably will get in the way for other portions of this video because this is a detailed card. It does take some time to do, but I guarantee you once you're done, you're going to love the results, especially all the little interactive elements of this card. So not only does it pop up, the little shutters open and close, the little roofs come up and down. It's just very, very nice and interactive. It would make a really nice card for a child or like maybe a 7 or 8 year old. I feel like they'd really appreciate something like that. So anyways, I have the stamp here from the flower stamp set, and I'm just stamping out this front desk lady, which is really cool. I love the little top that she has on. Cheers to Sabrina Lavelle for designing this, because I just thought it was just a regular lady, and then I noticed the top is really trendy, so I actually liked that part of the stamp. And then I went ahead and just used my Spectrum Noir Tri-Blends to color all of these in. Now I'm not going to go over the coloring because it didn't take too long actually, but this video is quite long and I don't want to focus too much on that and more so on putting the card together. So once I was done coloring, I cut it out. There's actually coordinating dies that come with this set available on the Scrappy Tails website if you did want to purchase those. I just fussy cut them. Now I'm adding all of my little elements to my card, and it's all of the little details I find that make the big difference. So I've added my front store lady there. I've got a little stool behind the bush, a watering can in front, and now I'm adding these little planters that are going to hang from the ceiling here, from the roof. And I find these little tweezers come in handy because this set has a ton of little die cuts, and the little tweezers just help you get them in there. Now you can see I've got a little basket I've put in the front here, but I looked at it and thought that's kind of weird. It just looks like it's floating in the air. So I cut two little strips of the gold cardstock, and I decided to kind of just add them there as shelves. So I've got one there, and I'll add a second one so I can create another little shelf and add more little vases and flowers there. So what I did here is I took one of the vases and I'm gluing the flowers to the back. And then I'll add a bit of foam. I mean, there's enough dimension in here. Sorry about my head. There's enough dimension in here, but I did want to kind of pop these up. And I find that when I add the foam, it's actually easier for me to attach them as well. So there's a ton of these nice bigger pots and little baskets and some of these smaller little planters that you can fit around. And I'm just going ahead and building up the card. Now you can see that folds nicely. Now for the sentiment, I'm using the sentiment set that comes with this release, and I'm doing some heat embossing here. So I'm going to stamp it down with some Versamark ink. I did use a anti-static tool earlier, which I did not show you, but I did use it. And I'm using some Altenew rose gold embossing powder. Now I've mentioned in my videos before the rose gold embossing powder, it says rose gold, but it has a nice antique gold look. So I love using it on my cards. And I cut it out in a banner way, and then I just added a foam strip to the back to attach it to that front roof there. And I think that's part of the reason why I added two roofs, because the top roof, I wanted one of them to completely show, and I knew that I was going to add a sentiment to one of them. So that's why I have the two roofs there. And at the end here, I'm just adding some embellishments. Now, I am the type of person who can't make a card without adding embellishments. So I'm adding some to the roof, a lot of little small ones to the centers. And these embellishments are just AB colored crystal gems, and they're actually nail art gems, which you can just grab off of Amazon. They're pretty cheap and they work well. And as you can see, there's my final card. So you see all that dimension, and it can fold nice and flat and fit into an A7 sized envelope. And that's my inspiration for you today. I hope you've seen something here that you would like to purchase, or you've been inspired to create something similar. I have the link for the Scrappy Tails site listed below in my description, along with all of the products in my blog post, which is also in the description below. I hope you guys have a great day, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.